Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the session. All right. So I am really excited to be here with all of you. And this is the second year of this session. So it was successful last year, and I hope it will be successful this year as well. So I really look forward to learning together with everyone. And so let's get started. So this is the session, Getting Online as a Teacherpreneur. And what does it really mean to be an online teacherpreneur? It relates to your online presence. That is the platforms that you will be using for teaching online. That is of primary importance because the platforms through which you will be connecting to your learners. And it could be your website, which could be a blogging site, a site where you only want to share the content with your learners, or you want to share podcasts, you want to do whatever kind of content you want to share. Basically, you want to upload courses, you want to teach in a proper instructional format, or you only intend to share your material with your learners. So depending on the purpose, you are going to decide what kind of website would you need. Next is the use of online tools to teach effectively. So what are the various tools that you can use? And the instructional designing. This is one of the major aspects when we look at online teaching, because if you are planning to teach a proper course, then you have to decide how interactive do you want it to be with the learners. Do you want to add gamification in that or not? Depending on the audience, that is the learners that you are going to teach. Are these learners school students, adults, young adults? So depending on your audience, a host of options need to be decided while designing your courses. Is it going to be a collaborative learning? And how do you plan the learners to collaborate together? Is it only going to be a text-oriented learning, that is an asynchronous learning, which is when you are uploading the content and your learners are coming onto your website to read and study the material that you have uploaded? Or do you want it to be interactive? That is, your learners are showing interest into various activities that you have uploaded. Or is it a proper course with a specific timeline that you are planning? Or it is a combination of all of these. So depending, again, what you plan to do, you are going to decide on the instructional designing. So when we teach online, there is an absolute paradigm shift from face-to-face teaching, and we effectively want to use technology. So there are two aspects when we teach online. One is synchronous teaching and another is asynchronous teaching. So synchronously is what we are doing right now, and asynchronous is the content that you upload on the website. So there could be a variety of content, as I just shared, and there also could be a variety of assessments that are possible. What is an assessment? It is an understanding of the grasp of the student over the content that you are sharing. So all these aspects, again, you need to keep in mind while you are planning to teach online. What are the advantages? When we teach face-to-face, we connect for a limited period of time. The content that we are sharing with our learners is available for a limited span of time. Whereas when we teach online, the availability of the content as well as the instructor is enhances, as in you are available, you could be available to your learners as and when they require. You could connect synchronously to form a connect with your learners. Variety of content. So since we know one shoe does not fit all, but some shoe will fit someone. So when you're uploading a variety of content, there could be some form of the same content that the learner, a specific learner, is comfortable with, and another learner is comfortable with another type of content. So when you amalgamate a variety of content, then is when you are actually making use of online teaching. And of course, we have the ODA loop. That is, you can use technology to observe, orient, direct, and then act on the loopholes of the course that you are working on. And this can be very effectively done and easily done using technology. Now let us get started with the session. This session is being hosted on Moodle website. Every week we are going to have 2 live sessions. The first session is today, that is the introductory session, and the next session is tomorrow. That is 2 live sessions every week. And the content is specifically for beginner to intermediate level users of technology. So if you do not have any technical background or coding background, do not get intimidated by that, because that is what we are here for. We are going to learn together with each other. And there are forums for collaborative learning where we are going to share our thoughts and viewpoints about various aspects of technology. There are presentation resources which have been shared on SlideShare. So every week you will get certain presentation resources which will help you to understand the concepts better. We will look into some of them right now. Then there are coding resources for reference. So as we get to the modules for coding, you will get ample resources, sample codes, and every kind of help that you would need for writing code. So you do not need to really worry about that as well. There are video tutorials for WordPress and coding. And again, you really don't have to worry if you do not have a technical background. Then you have support forums where, of course, you can reach out to us, and we will be happy to help. Then there is a Facebook group. If you have not joined that group, and if you are on Facebook, please do join in. So getting on to the session, here it is, the general section, where you will find the introduction to the course in a video format that is available. That is just a brief introduction to the syllabus of the course. Next section is the introduction and syllabus. Here we have 3 sections. One is the syllabus for the course that I'm sure you would have already gone through. Second is the introduction forum. So here is where you need to add the introduction about yourself so that we get to know each other. The link for the Facebook group where you can join in, and please fill in the survey, the introductory survey, because it will help me to know you better. What are your expectations? What is your background, as in your technical background, so that I can cater to the needs as required. Support. These are the 2 support forums. You have any technical problem or instructor related problem, you can reach out on the forum. Then the live session recordings. I really would be very happy if you attend the live sessions, because you can ask the queries or whatever you difficulties, maybe if you are facing any directly. And if in case it's not possible to attend the live sessions, you will find the recordings under this section. And am I audible still? Okay.
I can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. So now we come to week 1. In week 1, these are the topics that we will be covering up. What is an IP address? What is a top-level domain, a subdomain, protocols used for internet? That is, these are related to the working of internet. How is the data transferred over the internet? So this is a little bit of a technical aspect, but we will just look into it. And we will be hosting a website on wordpress.com. So we will be actually registering the domain on wordpress.com in week 1. Let's see, what is internet? It is a network of networks connected across the globe. That's what we all know of internet. All right. Now, the introduction to wordpress.com is the topic for week 1. And the task for the week is setting a domain on wordpress.com. How do we do that? We'll just see it. So first of all, we have a lesson for each week. And so we have 1 lesson in week 1. This is personal content, personalized content that I have written on my own for beginner level users. So I hope that will help you to understand the technical aspects. Next is the live sessions. As I just shared that there will be 2 live sessions. Next are the resources. So these are the presentation resources. You need to check out all of these resources. And when you check out these resources, you will get a tick. You will get a tick next to these activities. You need to complete these activities so as to move on to the next week and to get the badge for this week. So this is a part of the mandatory activity that you need to do. Why is it mandatory? Because it is for your benefit. When you go through these resources, you will understand these concepts, and only then it makes sense that you move on to the next level. And let's collaborate so that these are the 2 sessions, forums. discussions that we have this week. One is about the IP address and one is for the HTTPS, that is the protocol. And if you want to know more, this is supplementary reading. This is not mandatory, but you can check out the links. These are authentic resources from where you will get authentic information about the topics that we are covering up. So internet, when we talk about internet and we are wanting to have our website over the internet, so how does the data flow? How does the website data flow? Internet is a client-server architecture where the website resides at the server side and the website has a unique name, that is the domain name. Then the client or the user, that is we at the end, as the end users, we send a request to visit a specific website. And the server responds with appropriate web page of the website. Website is a collection of web pages. And when we or anybody who is trying to visit your website, that person is going to be the client or the user of your website. And that client is going to send a request to visit your website on a specific page. And then the server is going to respond back with that specific page to the client. The data is transferred over the internet using protocols and client server, both are recognized by the IP address. So we'll just check out the resources which will help us understand these concepts better. Now coming to WordPress, this is wordpress.com. On the right side, you will see this option to get started, or there is an option to start your website. So you can click on either of these. Next, step 2 is to enter the email address, username, and password. These will be the details of the administrator of the website. That is you. You are the owner and administrator of your website. So make sure to remember what details you are entering here: the email address, the username, and the password. Next, select the type of website you want. There are different types of websites available here: blog, or a business, or a professional website. Now, if you are planning to sell courses online when you are teaching online and you want to make money when you are teaching online, that comes under e-commerce, and e-commerce is business. So you will have to choose a business related website. If you only want to share your content, then it is going to be a blog. And if you only want to share your portfolio or the work that you have done, then it's going to be a professional website. Why are these being categorized? Because as you're going to build up your website, WordPress is going to help you in selecting themes and the features that are required for that specific category of website. Then you have to decide the category. Here you have to enter what kind of business do you do. So here you can write education and click on continue. Next, tell us your business name, or you can write anything related to your business that you want it to be recognized as. Okay, so here is what I have entered: teaching is learning. This is how I want it to be recognized. Yes, you can change the category, and you can change the category later. But again, it will be advisable if you decide beforehand, because then you will be building up your website accordingly. Next is set up the domain name. So next step is to set up your domain name, enter the domain you want here. Okay. So supposing I wrote teaching. Now teaching is a very generic term, and you will not get a lot of unique domain name for that. So what you need to do here is figure out something that is unique and appropriate to your domain, of course. When you will write a generic term like teaching, it is going to suggest you vague domain names, including numbers, which is not very likable to be remembered by your learners. So your domain name should be easy to remember and unique. So the better would be that you enter something unique. And next, for example, here I have written facilitator for you. When I wrote teaching, it gave me a number of options which included numbers and other words, which I did not really like. So then I thought of a unique name, that is facilitator for you. Now here, why I am telling this is when you want a free domain, if you have purchased a domain, then that is different. I am talking about a free domain, and we will be developing a website under the free plan only in this session. We are not going to be purchasing anything. If you would like, you can purchase it later. You can customize it later as you would need. But during this session, we are going to focus only on the free aspects. So here, when I selected facilitator for you, then is when WordPress suggested me facilitatorforyou.wordpress.com, which is an easy name to remember. And this is available for free, and I can select it. If you want, there is also facilitatorforyou.com available, but that is a paid domain. Why is this a paid domain and why is this a free domain? Because if you can see, this is facilitatorforyou.wordpress.com. It is basically a subdomain of WordPress. This is not going to be your own domain. This is a wordpress.com domain under which you have a subdomain. But if you have facilitatorforyou.com, this is going to be a domain owned by you. There is a difference between the two. We will see that also. Next, domain names. Now, facilitatorforyou.com is a custom domain name, which can be owned by you, and it is the primary domain. That is, the root domain here, facilitator for you, does not include WordPress in it. When we look at facilitatorforyou.wordpress.com, there are three parts to it. Here, .com. So com is the TLD top level domain. Like for example, you would have seen websites with .edu, .in, .us. These are TLDs. These cannot be customized. These are available list. There is an available list of TLDs from which you will have to choose if you want to purchase a domain. Next is the root domain. sorry. Next is the root domain. Here the root domain is WordPress. Here the root domain was facilitator for you. So there is a difference between the two domains, as you can see. Here, facilitator for you is a subdomain of wordpress.com. So as we keep on moving towards the left from the TLD, then first we come across the root domain, and then is the subdomain, and then further you can have another subdomain. So there are basically 3 parts to this domain, and there are only 2 parts to this domain name. The point here is that when you purchase a domain, you will get a custom domain. When you opt for a free domain, it is going to be a subdomain of the existing website. Next is, it will ask you to select a plan. If you want, you can select a plan, but as I said, we are going to start off with a free site. So you need to go here, start with a free site. You click on this, your website will be launched. Not launched, but you will be redirected to the dashboard. That is the back end of your website. Here, as you can see, Teaching is Learning, that was the name that I gave about the business that I do. And then is the domain that I have selected. And right now it is a private website. It is not public because I have not launched my website. And do not launch your site at this stage. Right now, you only have to do this much, that you select a domain and you register a domain for yourself on wordpress.com. But you really need to confirm the email address, because if you get stuck at the time of login, WordPress can send you email on your email address, the registered email address that you registered as the admin address. So you will have to log into your email address and click on the confirmation link in the email that WordPress would send you. So that is one step that is required. And once you validate the email address, then it will be easier for you to manage your website safely. So in case you forget the password or you're not able to log in somehow, you can contact through your email address. And whatever updates or changes will be made to your website, WordPress is going to send you the details on this specific email. Now we come to the survey. As per the survey, I have only got 18 responses by now. And according to them, when I look at it, everybody wants to learn the latest technology, which is the best part. And of course, that is why we are here in this session. Learning for your learners, because do you want to learn to get along better with your learners? And 66.7% people have said yes. And nobody has said no. So basically, we are learning for our learners to connect better with them, because today's learners are all netizens. They work on the internet, they use technology extensively, and the better we get accustomed with technology, the better we will get with our learners. And do you use any social media platform for teaching? So mostly people use Facebook and WhatsApp, Edmodo. Facebook, I think you can always have a private group on Facebook. And that helps you to maintain the privacy of your learners and what you are teaching and doing. Also, it helps you to connect as and when required, because most of us are on Facebook in today's time. So using social media can enhance your availability to your learners, basically. So let's check out now. Let us just check out the presentation resources. Okay, so we have 3 presentation resources for this week. First one is the IP address. What is an IP address? We will see. The working of the internet. Internet is a virtual world. And in this virtual world, how do we form this world? Because it's not a physical world. Through the networks. There are various networks which are connected together across the globe, and we form our world online. Every device that is connected to the internet owns an IP address. Whether it is you as an end user or the server on which your website is being hosted, every device is connected to the internet, and every device would have a unique IP address. Internet works on client-server architecture. The client sends the request and the server responds to the request. So this is the client, that is the end user, and this is the server, that is the machine where your website is stored. That machine is called the server. Now, when you own a website, you need to know where is your website. That is this database on the server where your website is going to be stored, or the data of your website is going to be stored. How do we know who is a client and who is a server? So this is a client, the end user, which has a specific IP address. He wants to visit google.co.in and he forwards the request over the internet. The request is forwarded to the ISP web server, that is the Internet Service Provider's web server. The Internet Service Provider is the service provider through which you are getting the internet connection at your end. That server is then going to forward and look for the IP address that you have requested for. And once that IP address is found, then they are going to forward the requested page, that is the specific web page. And that web page is then sent back to the client as a response. So this is a cycle of data flow over the internet. And then the client is able to access that specific web page. Next, we come to the domain names. I hope you are able to see this slide shares. Can you please tell me in the chat if you can see the presentations? Okay. So next is the domain registration. Top level domain, root domain, subdomain, and domain registrar. What is it? A domain name is an easy to remember alphanumeric address of a website. A website is hosted on the server. Server is connected to the internet, hence it owns an IP address. The website is located on the server and it is reachable through its IP address. Okay, so it is not being accessed through the domain name, but that request, whenever you enter the domain name in the Google Chrome or whatever web browser you are using, that domain name gets converted into the IP address of this machine where the website is hosted. And that request is then forwarded. The domain name is never looked for. It is always the IP address specific to the website that is looked for. Okay, so it is basically a communication between the IP address at the client and the IP address at the server. What is a URL? Uniform Resource Locator. That is the domain name. Okay, and we start from right to left. The right is .com, that is the TLD. Then is Google, or that is going to be your custom domain name. That will be the root domain name. So as you can see here, forget about this slash for now. .com is the TLD. Google is the root domain. Moving towards the left of the root domain is going to be the subdomain. So if you see, when you access Gmail, it is mail.google.com. That is the subdomain under the main domain. The main domain is Google, and Google has a subdomain for mail. So this subdomain is dedicated only for managing the mails. What is a subfolder? There is a difference between a subdomain and a subfolder. A subfolder is what you see towards the right of the TLD, that is after the slash. So whatever you see here is a mail, that is the subfolder within the root folder. Top level domains are, there is a list of top level domains. These are the popularly used top level domains. Root domain, that is, for example, Google, Moodle for Teachers, Codeways Academy. So whatever custom domain name you are going to have, that is going to be the root domain. And it is purchased by the owner and registered with the domain registrar. So when you register your domain with the domain registrar, you become the owner of that domain. A subdomain. A subdomain, as we just saw, is towards the left of the root domain. It is separate from the root folder. The root folder is going to be, for example, in course.codewaysacademy.com. Root domain is Codeways Academy, and the root folder is going to be dedicated for Codeways Academy. That is the root domain. And there is going to be a separate folder for course. That is the subdomain, and you need to link the root domain with the subdomain. So you do not need to worry about these technical parts. It is only for the understanding, because when you are going to looking for a free domain on wordpress.com, you will always get a subdomain under WordPress, because wordpress.com. So WordPress is the owner of wordpress.com, and it is giving you a subdomain for free. But you cannot ever get a root domain for free unless there are exceptions. But majorly, you will never get a root domain for free. You will always have to purchase. And then there are subfolders. That is, for example, if you have a blog under your website name, or you have a tutorial, or you have a mail, so these are the subfolders. Next, we will come to protocols. What are protocols? In general English language, protocols are specific set of rules that we need to follow. So in terms of internet, these are the rules that govern the functioning of the internet. That is the transfer of data over the internet. HTTP. Now, you would have realized whenever you access a website on WordPress, it is on the internet, sorry. So it has the complete address is http://wordpress.www.wordpress.com. What is HTTP? Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Hyper means something that can be linked to another piece of data within the same document or an external document. Now, whenever you click on any of the link on the website, that link is a hyperlink. That is the technical part. So that hyperlink is when you hover your mouse over a link, it converts into a hand shape, and that specifies that it is a link. So that is a hypertext transfer protocol is followed for transferring the website data over the internet. HTTPS is what we use in today's time. We do not use HTTP anymore because HTTPS is a secure form of HTTP. Whenever you access a website that is secured through the HTTPS protocol, you will see a padlock towards the left in the address bar. And this is mandatory whenever you visit a data that is collecting sensitive data, a website that is collecting sensitive data. For example, a banking website or any website where you are planning to do some monetary transaction. Always make sure to check that it has a padlock in the address of the website. Otherwise, do not do any monetary transaction on any of the website, because that would lead to insecure transfer of data, and that could lead to hacking of your data. So basically, make sure to check this padlock and HTTPS for the website. Why use HTTPS? Because the data gets transferred after encryption. So basically, the data that was being transferred in a language which could be understood by anyone. So while it was being transferred from point A to point B, In between, if somebody intrudes and gets access to your data, they could hack into it. But when it is encrypted, it, even if they try to hack into the data, it will be useless, because encryption is the process of converting plain text into non-understandable format using some algorithms. So when the data is encrypted, then the possibility of hacking is negligible. What is encryption? This, of course, you do not need to know, but just for an understanding, encryption is a two-way function that is used for encryption and decryption. So when the data is being sent, it is encrypted, and at the receiving end, it is decrypted for accessibility. And there are specific algorithms which are used for encryption. Hashing is another technique that is used, and it is a one-way function. So when you get an SSL certificate, that is the certificate which helps you to get HTTPS, that certificate checks for hashing algorithm. This is different, and encryption is different. So when you need to have, like when you are going to own a website, you would need HTTPS. How do you get that S? Is by ensuring an SSL certificate. Every website on wordpress.com is SSL secure because wordpress.com itself is SSL certified. So if you're hosting your website on wordpress.com, it is secure through SSL certificate. FTP, file transfer protocol. This is a protocol that is used for transferring data between client and server. That is when you work at the backend for continuously downloading files without interruption. Again, this also has a security certificates, that is the encryption of data while the transfer is being done. This FTP protocol is used basically for developers for downloading and uploading data directly onto the server. You would not need this with WordPress.com. So when you use FTP, you can restrict access to the entire website so that whoever is accessing the data about your website at the back end, they do not get access to the entire website. And again, you would not need it when working with WordPress.com. UDP is user datagram protocol. This protocol is connectionless protocol and is basically used for live streaming of data because it has low latency. These are just for knowledge that these are the various protocols that are used over the internet. The only protocol that you need to worry about is HTTPS. That is related to your website security. As a website owner and also as a client who is surfing over the internet, when you are using the internet for accessing websites, always make sure that it has HTTPS enabled in the domain. So these were the three resources that I have shared in week 1. And you can go through these resources. The links are available over here. And so that's about this week. If you have any doubts, tomorrow we have another live session. So if you have any doubts, you can always let me know. And otherwise also in the support forum, you can write to me or message me directly if you need any help or you feel stuck somewhere. So the task is basically to go to wordpress.com and go to get started or start your website. Once you click on this, you will need to follow the steps that we just discussed. So that's about this session. Do you have any questions? Please let me know. Are there any questions? Well, I would be attending TESOL in virtually. So I would be presenting virtually. You're welcome. If you really have any doubts, please do let me know, and do not feel stuck up with the technicalities, because you can, as you read through, as you work through, you will get hands-on with it, and it's all about working, doing, and learning. So that's about it. And I hope to see you tomorrow as well. So please join in for tomorrow's session also. Thank you so much. See you. Thank you.